Will the Chicago Bears get a long-term deal done with Allen Robinson? Let's talk about it, starting now. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page because we do talk Chicago sports weekly, and we don't want you to miss a thing, so make sure that you hit that bell. And after you're done hitting the bell, after you're done watching the video, make sure that you go cop some of the new Windy City Breeze merch. You can check that out by checking out the description below. We got hoodies, t-shirts, dad hats. What else we got on there? For the ladies, we got crop top hoodies. I mean, for the guys, if you rock crop top hoodies, knock yourself out. Crew necks, you know what I'm saying? We got a plethora of gear up on the site, you know what I'm saying? So, and more stuff coming, so make sure to check out the site regularly. That is twcbreeze.com. Now let's get to the show. So we are now 3 days away from the deadline to sign franchise tagged players, and Allen Robinson has been franchise tagged. He says that he's not going to hold out. He says that he's going to be at training camp. Don't worry about any of that, but you do have to worry about, is he going to be happy? He already said he didn't want to play on the franchise tag. I think that he saw that he wasn't going to get more money than that out there, so he comes back on the franchise tag. Okay, but do the Chicago Bears get a long-term deal done with Allen Robinson? That is the question on the table today. And let's break down this question, all right? Because you already know. Listen, when we're talking about Allen Robinson, you already know how I'm coming in with this. You know how I'm feeling when we're talking about A-Rob. This is dominant. This man is a beast. When people look at Allen Robinson and then look at some of the top wide receivers in the league, they always say, well, he's not putting up the numbers that these guys are putting up. Well, he's had Mitchell Trubisky, Blake Bortles, and Nick Foles throwing the ball to him. I don't think he's ever had a good quarterback in his career from college up. So he's going through it right now, right? So you have to ask yourself the question, is Allen Robinson what we've seen, or is there more in there? Because you got to keep in mind, Allen Robinson is 27 years old. It's not like you're paying a 31-year-old wide receiver that's like, well, he's on the downside of his career. How? He's 27 years old. So that's where this starts for me. My personal opinion, you should have paid the man last year. We shouldn't even be here. I can't believe we're here, but hey, it's the Chicago Bears. It's how we operate, right? And so when I look at coming into this season, even with what Robinson did last season, you know what I'm saying? Do I think that a long-term deal is going to get done before the July deadline? I don't. I just don't. I don't think that the Bears are even looking to it. We've heard that the talks have slowed down tremendously. We've heard that they just didn't pick back up. And so I think kind of where we are right now is where we are. And I think that when you look at everything going into it, you want to kind of see, at this point in the game, I can see why Ryan Pace is doing it, right? Because you want to see what A-Rob is going to give you, and you want to see if you can get that set fire under him season where all of a sudden he breaks off for one of the greatest Bears wide receiver seasons of all time, because he's got a chip on his shoulder. Is that a dangerous game to play? Absolutely, but they played that same game with Kyle Fuller, and it worked in their favor. To me, when I'm looking at this with Allen Robinson, though, he's shown you how great he is. He's shown you exactly what he can do. And for you to not pay him in this situation, to me, is a joke. But when I'm looking at it, I just don't see I don't see anything that changed from the beginning of the season, from the end of last season to now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've had all offseason to look at his numbers. You've had all offseason to look at every single play. You've had all offseason to see where the issues came in. If you looked at his tape and you said you're not a $20 million a year wide receiver, and I know, listen, there's some people in the comments who are going to say, Pat, he's not a $20 million a year wide receiver. And to you, I give the same challenge. Look at his quarterbacks. Look at some of those top $20 million a year wide receiver quarterbacks, and tell me the discrepancy. Show me the discrepancy. Show me the guys that have done it with less. And so when I'm looking at this, when I see kind of what we're coming into the season with here, I don't think there's any change, because they've had time to see all of those numbers. They've had time to see those plays. They've had time to watch every single down of what Allen Robinson did last season. If you didn't think that it was, I get not touchdown wise, I think 6 touchdowns for Allen Robinson last year, but still a 1,200-yard season. If you can look at that and say that he's not the reason that the offense was moving when it would move, I'm not sure what you're looking at. You know what I'm saying? Or I just, if you were gonna pay him, you were gonna pay him. You know, now listen, there's absolutely some plays in there, and I've said it on the show that last year I could say that the interception wasn't on Mitch, it was on Allen not going up for it. But then at the same tip, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of plays where Mitch is putting it out there, and Allen Robinson is absolutely saving his behind by making an amazing catch. So it's tick for tack on that. Take that how you want it. You know what I mean? But at a minimum, I don't see a deal getting done at this point in camp. Now, before I continue with the video, I want to know how you guys feel. Let me know in the comments below. And you know I love talking with y'all, man. This is the only Chicago sports show that's talking Chicago sports, how Chicago talk. So I'm going to be down there talking with you in the comments as well. Just know if you get spicy, you're going to get spice right back. Now, here's the thing for me, though. Because looking at it, will Allen Robinson get a long-term contract? Right now, I'm saying no. End of season. Can the Bears get him back? Can the Bears get a deal done by the end of the season or going into the end of the season? Do the Bears get him to buy in enough to come back? Is he a believer in Matt Nagy? Is he a believer in the Chicago Bears offense? Is he a believer in what they're putting out on the field? And to me, that all depends on what the Bears do this season. Listen, there's no doubt in my mind that for the first time in Allen Robinson's career, he'll have an opportunity next season to play with a superstar quarterback. Now, it may not even be in a Bears uniform. I mean, he'll have his options free range, but even if he's in a Bears uniform, I think that by next season, we'll see Justin Fields on the field. We'll see the difference that he's going to make behind center, and we'll see that players will want to be here. Players will want to win with Justin Fields, okay? But when I'm looking at is there an opportunity to get him back in? A lot of that depends on what Matt Nagy does, not only just offensively, but a big time at the quarterback position, right? Because to me, I think a lot of times we saw last season and in seasons past that the Bears do this in general, but Matt Nagy especially, he'll play the player that he feels better about, not the player that the team feels better about, right? He'll play the guy that he feels better about, not the player that the team is feeling better about, not the player that the team thinks is going to go out there and lead you to a win. And I think that that's going to come into play this season, because if it gets to a point in training camp, I'm talking about right now, I'm talking about in the next coming months, couple of months, if it gets to a point in training camp where it is clear cut that Justin Fields is leaps and bounds better than Andy Dalton and Matt Nagy continues to go with the veteran because he feels like the rookie just needs to sit, he will begin to lose the team. That's what happens in situations like this. When you're not playing the player. Now listen, now that there's a 17th game now, but there's only 17 of these. A lot of these games matter. A good chunk of these games matter unless you plan, and especially if you're the Chicago Bears with the toughest schedule coming into the season this year, most of these games are going to matter for you. So you have to put out the best product week in and week out. And I fully believe that if Matt Nagy makes a decision that the team does not believe is in the best interest of the team, he'll lose the team early. And that will be the biggest determining factor on if Allen Robinson gets a long-term deal done after this season. Because listen, if you give Allen Robinson the kid, or even, here's the thing, if you feel like vice versa, if you play the kid, right, because you're feeling the pressure, you're saying, I want to see him, I want to get him out there. We know that Matt Nagy's quick to do that, right? Even last season when Mitch got benched, I absolutely think he deserved to get benched for the interception he threw. It was stupid, but Mitch was winning. And the first mistake that Mitch made that was a serious mistake, Matt Nagy pulled him. Now, do I think that the defense was a lot of that winning? Yeah. Do I think that? I think there were a factor of things that went around it, but at its base, Mitch was winning and Matt got his guy in there. Justin Fields is Matt's guy. So if Justin is in the game too early and the team feels like Andy gives us the best situation to win, i.e. what we saw in Miami last season, then that's another situation where absolutely Allen Robinson might look at this and be like, you know what? I just don't believe in what we've got going on here. I don't believe in what this team has going on here. I don't see this offense moving in the right direction. I see Matt Nagy making the major decisions that just don't end up working out, and I don't believe in it, and I'm not going to stick around. What Matt Nagy does in training camp, what this offense does in training camp is going to mean a lot to what the Chicago Bears do. Now, of course, what happens throughout the season is going to be the most important thing. You know what I'm saying? If the Bears go on to make the playoffs and be competitive in the playoffs, you know what I mean? Like, that's a difference maker in itself. A lot of times that can bring a guy back into the fold, but you're going to have a tough time getting to that point in the season if your team is not believing in you in the training camp portion of the season. And so, to me, listen, do I think that Allen Robinson can get a long-term deal after this season? I do. I think that Allen Robinson genuinely loves the city of Chicago. I think that he loves being here. I think that he wants to be here. I think he just wants long-term money. All right. Is it going to be $20 million a year? Probably. Do I think that Allen Robinson is worth it? Personally, I do, because I've seen him be great with mediocrity. And so to me, yes, I'm willing to pay that $20 million a year. I'm willing to take a sacrifice because it's probably going to cost you paying somebody bigger on defense, paying one of our names on defense is probably the reason Kyle Fuller isn't here anymore. It's gonna hurt your defense a little bit, but I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of the defense to get the offense into a top 10 offense. That's what we need right now. We need our defense to be what it has been. Honestly, if you can be a top 15 defense, would I love to see a top 10 defense? Of course, it's bear down. But if you can be a top 15 defense, that's really all you need if your offense is top 10. Look at the top 4, or look at the final 4 teams last season in the playoffs and tell me where they were offensively ranked. And then tell me where they were defensively ranked. Yes, some of those defenses were great, but a lot of those teams were absolutely carried by their offenses. So I'm not saying it's going to get you a Super Bowl, but I'm saying that it gets you a chip in the chair if you take that little bit to give it to the offensive side of the ball and you keep your defense top 15. And plus, listen, I'll give Ryan credit where credit's due. He has a knack for finding those guys on the defensive side. Now, there's some duds in there. There's some duds in there, absolutely. You usually find them in the 5th round. I'd like to see you find them in the 1st round. But hey, he's found some of those guys. And so to me, I'm looking at that, and I think I'm more willing to give you more money on the offensive side, to give Allen Robinson $20 million a year, because I know that I've got this young stud that I just drafted, and I want him to have every opportunity to have one of the best wide receivers in the league to throw to make his life as easy as possible. We can say what we want about Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney could be something. Let me tell you something right now. Allen Robinson is something. And so to me, I think you have to pay that man. I think you have to give him the $20 million a year. And I think that the Bears actually will by the end of this season. Now, of course, like I said, depending on how the season goes. But at the end of the day, I want to hear how you guys feel. Let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. As always, it is your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again to continue watching our Chicago Bears content. Click the links here or check the links in the description below. Ayo. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago, and make sure that you cop some of the merch. You feel me? Peace.